Welcome to Wide Flank.
All right. Hello and welcome to another episode of Wide Flank. Today we're doing another Gameclub episode. This is Danny.
Hello. Welcome to Wide Flank with Danny today.
And I'm Teddy. We're this Gameclub where we played Outer Wilds, not Outer Worlds. So sorry for everybody who played that Obsidian game instead.
The thousands of you who bought the wrong game.
I played Outer Worlds recently, and so all my Google searches are every time I type in Outer, it does. So I've been on a couple wikis and stuff, looking at the wrong game.
Did Josh Sawyer direct Outer Worlds?
No, it doesn't look like he was really involved in that. But
okay.
The artist did, who did all the art for Pentiment, also did the art, a lot of the concept art for Outer Worlds. Anyway, that's a different episode. Actually, we just talked to Josh Sawyer, the game director for Fallout New Vegas and lead designer on a lot of Obsidian titles. He just made a new game called Pentiment, and we talked to him and our friends who are in a medieval music ensemble because they did the soundtrack for that. So we're going to release that in a week. So thank you for bearing with us, but we have a lot of content coming up for you.
Watch this space, big things coming soon.
Yes. We're about to blow up. It's going to be great. All right, Danny, tell us about Outer Wilds. That's the game.
Yeah, so Outer Wilds is a 2019 space exploration action-adventure game developed by Mobius Digital, published by Annapurna Interactive. Player takes the role of an unnamed space explorer preparing for their first solo flight in space. And I guess this is a good time to interject. This game, like a few of games we've played before, I think really benefits from going in pretty blind. Really just kind of immersing yourself in the exploration. And this is going to be rife with spoilers and descriptions and vivid descriptions of what the gameplay is like. So, final warning to you. I recommend playing if you think you might play this game, I'd play it and then come back. But anyways, praying for the first, spoiler cast. This is where the spoiler-free edit ends. It's just 2 minutes of us saying hello. So anyways, the game started as Alex Beauchamp's master's thesis project at USC in 2012. And eventually it grew into a full development project. And Mobius Digital was taking it on. And then during the development process, Annapurna Interactive came on and told them we want to turn this into a full-fledged game. A full project. We want it to be totally polished and fully released. And so they came on as publisher, and game came out in 2019, won several game design awards, and has become, really a cult classic, I think, in the gaming community. And it's and so we played it, similar to a few other games we've played. I think echoes of Subnautica for sure. In terms of the development
name
process.
Of the game, Echoes of Subnautica.
Yeah. It's developed as an indie developer and larger publisher, and there are lots. We'll get into, I'm sure, some gameplay similarities and stuff, but that's a simple background.
Alon was talking to us. He's no longer with us. I'm just kidding. He's going to join us next episode. He was saying, talking about Annapurna, the publisher, who they publish a bunch of. They're connected to Annapurna Films, but this is their video game arm, and they are trying to publish basically a bunch of similarly indie titles. So their first game was What Remains of Edith Finch, which kind of put them on the map. And then they did, I think they did Donut County with Ben Esposito, who eventually did Neon White. They did Neon White with him, but this was pretty early in their, this game came out in 2019. Yeah. So they've this really, really put them on the map. Because this game's pretty different, I would say. Yeah, so do you want to talk kind of about setting the scene when we first wake up?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to talk about it from my perspective because I wasn't there when Teddy and Alon decided that this would be the next Gameclub game. And that's not a slight or a complaint. It's just, I literally had maybe heard of it. I think I thought Outer Worlds and Outer Wilds were the same thing. And I saw the cover on Steam and booted it up. So, to set the scene that you wake up on a... on land. It's not clear. It's not even clear it's a space game at first glance. But you're with these other blue alien people. You're clearly like a different species in a different world. You're not on Earth. You're not playing a. You're not a human, and you basically get a tour of this homeworld where there's lots of talk of you going to space, and it starts to be revealed that you're preparing for your first flight, and you have to learn how to control your ship and learn how to fly a jetpack and a few other things. And it's but it's interesting because you're in this almost like the shanty town. There's lots of everything's kind of scrapped together and there's a lot of wood and people playing analog instruments and the music is not like spacey and techie and synthesizery. It's like banjo music and people eating marshmallows by the fire. So it's this very like cozy, small community that seems like really early on, just it feels like all they care about is space. And like, that's kind of like what they worship. And I often I imagine this all the time. Like, what if one area of our technology is wildly ahead of everything else? And, I'm sure we have that in some respect in the real world, but, they certainly have it here.
Some aliens are going to be like, come visit us and be like, why isn't our medicine better?
Yeah, right, exactly. But so you kind of get a quick run through of the game, and the characters, it's revealed really early on that the characters are kind of gamey and cartoony. You like play hide and seek with these two kids, and the dialogue's not super deep or layered, I don't think. But pretty soon, it's a pretty short tutorial, and then you get right into it. You board your ship, which again is like this shanty ship. And I don't even know if I'm using that word correctly, but a shoddy ship, which I know I'm using that word correctly. And you take off and then you are heading to space. And very quickly you learn that this game relies on realistic isn't the right word, but basically realistic physics of spaceflight, where as you approach celestial bodies, you get pulled into their gravitational field. You get pulled down onto the planet. You kind of ride their orbit. So it takes a second for you to get out of Timberhearth, your home planet's orbit, but then you're in space, and all the dialogue you've had so far in the game is just to get into space, like just to go to space and start exploring. Like, who knows what you'll find, and we're so excited for you we hope you sort of don't blow up when you go up. And there's lots of talk there. You're not the first person to go into space in your community. There's talk of other travelers who are out there learning things about the history of the universe. And, you are just kind of set loose, and you can go to any planet. There's planets that are obviously connected to the late game that you can go to right away and have no idea what's going on. And then, or you can go to like the moon, which I didn't go to the moon next to Timberhearth for a long time, but,
they were like, the first place you could go, like if you want to start small, you could like go to the moon. I was like, fuck that. I'm a gamer. I'm not going to the moon. I'm going to the lava planet or something.
Yeah. And I think this is where it really, what's so unique about this game. And I watched the No Clip documentary about this game, and like it was, I knew this before listening to it, but just they wanted the player to have total freedom to navigate this world. And the only barrier to certain areas or certain actions or activities would be knowledge. You have to learn things and figure out where things are and how to get through certain barriers, but none of it, there's no hard walls in the game. Which,
like where Subnautica would be like, you can't go below 100 meters without your submarine cracking to pieces unless you go find this piece of technology or find this mineral. That doesn't exist in Outer Wilds. Basically, if you come up with some insane way to solve a puzzle or find one little piece of information in the world, you can do it. You can beat the game on your first run.
Theoretically.
Yeah.
And if you it's
yeah. So I mean, and we should say, do you want to, and then, well, I guess.
Are you going to talk about the loop? Are you going to talk about the loop?
Yeah.
Well, so I had something for this, which I had one for this.
Okay.
A loop and a son walk into a bar. No, so so this game operates on a 22-minute time loop. Does that make it a roguelike, by the way?
Yeah,
I think maybe it does. So though, again, this is where the game is so open-ended. I had no idea that it was on a loop for much of the time I played the game initially, because the game loops either when you die or at the end of 22 minutes when the sun at the center of the solar system supernovas and destroys everything in front of you.
And obviously you're just dying all the time because you're playing like a maniac.
Well, yeah, like the first thing I did was I flew straight into the sun.
Obviously.
So, yeah. Or actually, no. My first death was crashing into a planet way too hard. And then my second death was hitting the sun. So it was a while before I spent a bunch of time exploring on one planet and then saw a bright light. I was actually on the Whitehole station the first time I supernovaed, which was awesome because it takes a while to get to you. But
that is awesome. The first time I died was my first run on Timber Hearth. I just jumped off something really big. So yeah, I didn't find out about the time.
I took fall damage. I took fall damage on Timber Hearth, but I did not die, thankfully. But so, I mean, I don't know how much we'll get into this, but the lore of the game is there's this almost like forerunner species that was extremely advanced and left all of this technology scattered around this solar system. And really the exploration of the game and kind of progression is retracing their steps and understanding the conversations they were having and what they were doing in that solar system. But during the opener, while you're going to your ship, there's a statue that they had built. It's like almost like a sheep. It looks like a sheep Medusa human head kind of thing.
Yeah, and, I have goat and elk written in my notes.
I think goat.
points.
Yeah, goat, not sheep. Yeah, definitely goat. But like, it does give like Medusa vibes. It's got like very like articulate, stringy things coming back from its head. It's kind of like my hair right now, but with a goat.
Yeah, and you have a third eye.
Yeah, and so you like have an interaction with this statue, and when you die, your run, we'll call it, is played back to you in screenshots, and it's like through the eyes of this statue. So you have you have this connection to this lore personally because you are the first one to like synchronize with this statue, and that's like kind of the game's.
There's another person who's also in a time loop.
There is, but he's not connected to that statue.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, he connected to one, I think, on Ash Twin or something. But so basically when you die, you get this playback of everything that happened that accelerates. You know, it's like the first shot is really long, and then you just see like snippets of everything. And you wake up on Timber Hearth again. You can get straight into your ship and go through. Just go through the process again.
Right. So the game is basically, for most of the game, it's like how much can you find out before you either die a catastrophic death in space, or crashing into a planet, or getting buried in a quicksand pit, or the time runs out and then you start over. And so you're like, okay, you could be like, I haven't explored this planet yet at all. I'm going to go there. Or there's a few things I explored on this planet, but I feel like there was something else I saw on Brittle Hollow. I kind of want to check that out again. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the challenge in making a game like this is like, how do you get the player to keep wanting to try again? Because, coming off of Hades, you think about at the end of every run, we harp so much on the fact that you can talk to all these characters, have these interesting conversations that are well acted. And at this, you come back, the conversations are, after the first time you die, all of your conversations are identical with anyone on Timber Hearth.
I was shocked.
Yeah.
That,
it's like so different from Hades, where like they didn't do any extra work. Oh, I don't want to like attribute any laziness or something, but like there was no focus on this changing over time. It's really just these characters are here. They're total nobodies. Does not matter that they're here. After your first time going through the time loop, you can comment on how you're in a time loop. And actually, I think pretty much the only one of the few pieces of funny writing is it's like dude, I'm stuck in a time loop. Like I just died. And he's like, you're lucky I don't have you grounded for medical concerns. Like go get on your ship or something. But it's I'm losing my thought. But
no, it's fine. So yeah, the thing is, why are you compelled to continue playing? Like in Hades, it was like, okay, there's all this character development happening in between runs. And this game, there isn't, right? This game, what it is where I feel like in this is the roguelike comparison. I think it's in most roguelikes, you're getting better at the mechanics of the game. And in Outer Wilds, you're getting better at understanding the universe and the way certain technologies work, the way the Forerunner race has uncovered certain things. Even just their interpersonal drama that's littered around the solar system in codex entries. So yeah, like, were you compelled to like continue like playing? Like what kept you, if you had moments of like, I just died, I really want to see something, or I want to go to a new planet?
I mean, I went on a bit of a journey with the game, for sure. Nothing really pulled me in for a while. The first couple entries, and this is one of my... before I start criticizing anything, I just want to say I think this is an amazing game, an amazing indie game, and I'm really happy that it exists. But something that just really turned me off early on was just the lore, the codex entries that you're reading are just so like lowbrow. I don't know, that you're just like listening to really stupid dialogue or reading really stupid dialogue between the Nomai, the Forerunner species, and they're like bolding and underlining certain words in each sentence, so you like know to pay attention to it. And it was like so in your face that I was like, this is, I don't feel like I'm solving a puzzle or I have to really pay attention to this. It's just giving me everything I want to know or need to know. But there's just like some kind of mastery, and it's similar to a roguelike in the sense that starts to become really satisfying, and you make a lot of progress in this game. Like weren't a lot of times that I didn't have many runs where I went in and felt like I didn't get anything coming out. I think maybe early on before I really understood anything, but pretty much every time I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go to Ash Twin, and I know that I ran out of time doing this, so I'm just going to finish it because I was getting some information that I needed, or I only was able to get down these 2 cave paths, or I found a note that was about this other planet and I can go do that now. And the game really opens up, and it does a good job of, you get information, but you don't have to it doesn't only mean you have to do that next thing, because you'll find hints about things that are going on all over this solar system in each place. So I think once I really had a bunch of different threads I could start to unravel, I just felt like I was making progress every single run, and it was very satisfying and fun. And I think we talked about like mastering the mechanics is not as huge of a part, but it definitely is significant. Right now I could get to, Ember Twin in 10 seconds from my wake up, just full speed blast straight at it, and then jump out the bottom at the last second, and I'm just exactly where I want to be. And there is some really good satisfaction that came with that, I think.
Right. Flying the ship is also not intuitive. It's like you're not flying like it's not like flying a plane with like a yoke. It's more like flying the Moonlander, in that it's like you can fly in 90-degree directions forward or whatever. Yeah. Forward, back, up, down. Right.
You've got thrusters that you can turn on in any direction.
Yeah. So it's like very unfamiliar to me as like someone trying to fly around in space, or fly anything really. also the fact that you're floating around these like 360 degrees or like spheres is like you're often upside down. Like being right side up and upside down actually don't really mean anything, right? So just like getting that tuned as well is like at first it's like really alienating or it feels really weird, and then eventually you're just like you start to see the world and game a little differently than just like flying a plane around like above the surface. It really feels like a space game in that sense.
Yeah, well, and I also feel like the planets are not very big. Even the largest planet, it doesn't like take a long time to get to. It doesn't take long to get to the surface and back to space. And so no matter what you're doing, you always feel more like you're in space than you are visiting a planet, you know? I think about it like when you look at photos of astronauts on the moon, you look at photos of people in Kubrick's studio, it is it's like it doesn't look like they're on a celestial body, right? It's like they're just in space on a rock. Whereas, you know, you enter Earth's if you're on Earth, it's like you're not in space, you're on Earth. So this game, everything feels like, some more than others, especially like the interloper behind me, definitely feels like you're in space because it's so small and has nothing, like barely has gravity. But I feel like it's a strength where you just kind of feel like you're bouncing around to these different space rocks.
So what was the first planet you went to besides the sun? Besides crashing into the sun?
Giants. No, I went to Brittle Hollow.
Brittle Hollow.
And then Giants Deep, I think, were my first two. But my first time to Brittle Hollow was just a disaster, I think, because I went to. I'm trying to. Because I think I went to Brittle Hollow, got sucked into the black hole at its core, and then was at the White Hole station, and then my ship got busted, and I just ran out of oxygen and died eventually. But and this is kind of maybe jumping ahead, but just I think the design of these planets is just amazing. The variation and the features of each one. Like Brittle Hollow is this kind of normal-ish looking planet on the surface, but at the center is a black hole that is slowly sucking in parts of the crust of this planet. And if you fly over it, you can get sucked into it, but there's like a city underneath the crust that you can explore, but it's really treacherous because you have to make sure you don't get sucked into this black hole. You can land, like your ship can get sucked in while you're in it because the planet is falling apart, and it's just, you know, it's just this like amazing spectacle when you're on it.
I thought that really is. I agree. Like all the planets are really different and unique to explore, and I think that's like the strongest part of this game. In Brittle Hollow, I think it's like really fully realized where it's the surface. There's not really anything on it because the ancient race, the Nomi, built under the surface because one of the moons is volcanic and sprays the surface with lava. So like there's like this reason there's this underground city there. Then there's also the black hole that teleports you out. It feels like there's a shrine to the eye of the universe, which is this, you know, theoretical sort of celestial body that exists in the solar system. So there's like a school there, like a church, there's a factory. It's it just felt, that world felt, on top of being like a crazy physics defying core that is, it transports you to the edge of the solar system through the black hole teleporter. It was just great.
Yeah, and it's that was also my first encounter. I mean, this game, I can't speak to the veracity of any of this, but this game takes on a lot of physics. I don't know if that, I didn't really say that how I wanted to, but it explores, quantum mechanics and traditional like Newtonian physics and relativity. And it's for the first time where I encountered that it had any kind of quantum physics thing going on was, the Tower of Quantum Knowledge, which is a part of the Sunless City in Brittle Hollow, which just a sentence, the Tower of Quantum Knowledge in the Sunless City on Brittle Hollow. It's just like the senses of this game are just off the charts. And there's some And it took a while before I encountered anything that really met with it, but there's all these allusions to these celestial bodies or moon rocks or meteorites that disappear or reappear when you observe them or look away from them, or change somehow when you're not viewing them, tied to this, the idea of when you're observing a particle, that's like it changes that's when its behavior changes. And, so it was fun to kind of get like brought along starting. It was nice to start in the Sunless City because I feel like that really opens up the Nomai to the player. And then, from there, you kind of have a good idea of how broad it's your exploration, how many different directions your exploration can take you. Because I'm trying to think of when it became clear to me that there was a goal, like there was an endpoint that I could get to, and it was really late. For the most part, you're just kind of exploring these different threads. You're trying to find escape pods, and you're trying to find other travelers from your planet, the people who've gone before you who are exploring. There's signals, unidentified signals you can explore, all this stuff. But then eventually there is kind of this one piece, which is you're trying to find the vessel on Dark Bramble, one of the planets. And that was, I don't know how many runs it had been, but I'd played the game for so long before I realized like that was kind of what I was trying to get to. I wanted to learn more about this and get to it and start to uncover the secrets of it.
Was that, so do you feel like that was, to me, that wasn't a point of the game. That was just like another piece to uncover. Is there some reason you thought it was like a goal for you? Because it is important to beating the game, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think it seems like it has the biggest barrier to get to, because not only do you have to learn about it and where it might
like
be.
A gamer.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. This is me like reading into the developer's intention. Right. So it was hard to get to. There are, for the only place in the universe, there are enemies that are guarding it. Essentially, there are these, what are they called they're anglerfish, right? That's what they're called in real life. Guarding it that can kill you, and you don't encounter that before. And then once you get there, you can't do anything because you don't have enough information, really. You can just explore a little bit, but there's an array that you can't fire because you like don't have the codes, essentially. You don't have the patterns you're supposed to enter to do it. So, and just also the way, is all of the Nomai lore describes it as the way they can get to the eye of the universe. And that seems like that's their in their lore, the overarching goal and why they are in space. And then it seemed like the biggest challenge was trying to get this all sorted. But again, like you obviously you can play the game and that's not important for a long time, or like that eventually is just one of these threads that you can follow.
Well, I went to Dark Bramble very early, and so I didn't like understand it as being important. And also, if you like don't know about the warp core in the vessel, like the vessel just looks like it's a derelict spaceship that is destroyed, and that's how this race came to the solar system. That's how the species came to the solar system.
Yeah, so I agree. I agree with that. I think I came to it late in the game, so I had seen all this discussion of it, right?
Right, and I'm not arguing with you. I just think
I'm not mad.
Don't. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. We're both going to calm down, then we're going to come back. So I was thinking that, people say like, don't come into this with any information because you don't want it to be spoiled. And I didn't really have any information. And I think this is like one issue that I think it would have been nice to have someone be like, there isn't a point, or there really isn't a point till like the very end. Because for me, I just kept being like, what am I doing? Like, why am I'm playing this game for the Gameclub, but like, what am I actually, like, am I just going to keep finding little nuggets and that's it? And essentially, yes. So I think like if someone's like, it's really just about like existing in this space and like the joy of discovery. But I kept, I first was like, okay, I'm going to find every single person who's missing from all the other astronauts from my planet, the other Hearthians. And as soon as you find them, they're like, I like it here. And I'm just going to stay. And you're like, you're lost on this planet, dude. And they're like, it doesn't matter. I'm going to stay here. Good luck finding whatever you're looking for on this planet. And so I was kind of bummed about that. I was like, shouldn't we be doing more together? I feel like I radioed. They were like, please radio for them to come pick me up or something. Someone says that. Or it's like, I think it says it in your rumor, map. But I don't know. It's nothing. Nothing ever changes. They're always there, right? Nothing in the loop changes. So then I was like, well, I guess after finding everybody, I was like, I guess I'll just like keep exploring. And also everyone's like, this game is amazing. So I expected there to be something that changed. I don't know. I like couldn't really, I didn't see the whole picture, I guess, which was really just chill in the universe and find stuff. So I kept like waiting for something to happen, and nothing really ever did until the very end.
Yeah, so, I know what you're saying. I think and I found myself a little disappointed at various points where I kind of got to the end of a side quest. I don't want to call it a quest, but a side quest or side story, and then be like, well, I know everything about this now. I guess I'll go to a new planet. So I do, even in that, and sometimes it wasn't enough to kind of keep pulling me along.
And sometimes I would like spend a lot of time being like, oh, I found something cool. Like the gravity cannons. I spent a long time trying to do something cool with the gravity cannons and the Nomi shuttles. And there's nothing you can do with them.
Right.
You can launch the shuttle into space.
And teleport to it.
You can launch it into space. You can call it back. You can find them on like different places. But like, I launched my ship out of it. There was like all kinds of things I did, but like I aimed them at certain planets, tried to like land on stuff. And there's like, nope, nothing. There's nothing here. And I was like, okay, why did I don't know. There were like a lot of moments where where I felt like my investment in curiosity was really high and the game just didn't have anything for me. And that was kind of a bummer.
Yeah, I think this game it appeals to a certain kind of gamer for sure. It's like if you want to just kind of get lost in a world and just kind of take it in, like low stakes, low pressure, not feel like you have to be microing perfectly or whatever it is, this is a great game for you, for that kind of person. If you're someone who just wants to unfold the story, wants to master mechanics, things like that, it's obviously not a good fit. I think that ultimately I just kind of got into a very ape-like loop of just, okay, I want to get through this thread. I want to get through this thread. I want to understand this. I want to figure out, okay, I need to get coordinates for this vessel. And eventually, and you mentioned the rumor map, which I'm curious what you think of it. I thought it was, it's very straightforward. This game is very straightforward. There's not a lot of like serious. You don't have to do a lot of critical thinking to get through things. If you go to your ship log and you go to a planet and you aren't sure if you've done everything, it'll literally just say, there's more to explore here. There is more to do here. And it'll just tell you exactly you'll have read 30 lines or 30 different paragraphs about the lore of that place. And it'll give you the 4 lines that are most important. It tells you in your ship codex or whatever. And actually in the no clip, they talk about how this was basically their storyboard. And they just copied and pasted it into the game. They're like, why don't we just let them look at this? And again, it's just it's like you were describing, it's just this like chilled out vibe. And it, I think for people who are playing it, if you don't really vibe with the senses of the game, it's just going to be a total snooze fest. Just like nothing is going to get you going.
Well, so, and I guess I think there are 2 separate directions. One is the experience of the like physics and look and everything, and some wow moments, and then like the story. And I thought like the way everything looked and the space feel and all that stuff, the like novelty of every single planet was off the charts. Like when you figure out the interloper that like you can slip through the ice on the front of the comet when it passes close to the sun and get inside, like that discovery, the sound, the feeling, being on the front of the comet, like shooting through, like seeing the tail of the comet, it was so incredible. Then also like to get inside and find out how all the Nomi died, like not only like, and actually in my experience, that was like one of the best story moments because it's like told through a lot of like visual storytelling. Like all the, like these Nomi are full of like ghost matter crystals. They got like skewered by them. And I loved those experiences where they're like, when you go to the sun station, for me, that was also just like absolutely incredible. I just being that close to the sun in this game is amazing. Just like being on the sun station and it just like being so bright and glowing was phenomenal. Were there any like, did you have any like stunning moments like that?
Yeah, moments of awe.
Right.
I mean, I think the first supernova. Well, I think going to the White Hole Station first, and that just really, like I said, that was so early in my playthrough that it just like, I was like, what the fuck? This is crazy and cool. And figuring out I could go back, and then I think I mean, definitely the observation deck of the Sun Station, which is, straight out of Sunshine. The film, we're
big Danny Boyle fans here. You got to see every Danny Boyle movie. You're going to be on the pod.
Trying to think where's like some of the other good ones are, but I think the first time I realized that the music change that happens as your loop is coming to an end and the sun's about to supernova, like maybe awe is the wrong word, but that's when I felt so immersed. It's just like this perfect tune that's not scary and it's not quite sad. It's very melancholy, I feel like, but relaxed. And so you just kind of are about to let the supernova wash over you. And eventually, or the first time, it's scary, right? It's this, you have no idea what's going on, and then your character's dead, and you're like, what the fuck just happened? But once you get 10 runs in, it's like, oh, I ran out of time. Like, I'm just going to jump out of my ship and just kind of float around, listen to the silence, and then it'll take me, right? And
yeah,
and
I actually loved finding a spot to watch the supernova from wherever I was. That was always something I really look forward to, was like getting a good view from the end of the universe.
Yeah. I mean, I know I had more. I think also definitely when I realized what was going on in the Hourglass Twins. So it's the Hourglass Twins are these two planets that are orbiting next to each other, and one of them is covered in sand, and the other is this like barren rock planet. And throughout your loop, the sand from the Ash Twin is falling onto the Ember Twin. And so slowly they basically switch. The Ash Twin becomes a barren rock planet, and the other becomes coated in sand. And just like noticing the sand is rising I was exploring the Ember Twin the first time I'd gone to them, and the sand is rising, and I'm like, what is going? But I didn't really understand what was going on, and then seeing and understand is like, wow, this is fucking awesome. I still think this is before I knew I was in a loop my first time doing this. So, I think I was very confused and thought maybe it was going to go back and forth, but yeah, that was almost more in awe of the creators. I was like, this is such a creative setup. And, I was very glad that those planets become very important to advancing the story, right. Your knowledge in the story.
What did you think of? I was kind of wondering like what you thought of the loop about resetting the loop early. Like it felt very Edge of Tomorrow for me.
Yes, totally.
Where you'd be like, okay, I figured out everything I needed to figure out in this area, and like, do I really want to go to this hassle? Like my ship's all the way, like it got blown off the planet. Do I really want to try and like fly over to it? or like, could I just like pull an Emily Blunt and reset and shoot myself in the head or whatever? And
what was your method of choice usually?
It depends on where I was. So
Yeah.
a lot of times it was jumping to my death.
Yep.
Sometimes it was hanging up my suit in the ship and jumping out of it and drowning in space. Sometimes flying into the sun. What about you?
My biggest one was my like end of game play. My like end of game stat or most common death would be flying as hard as I could in my suit into a planet or object. So I'd like jump and fly as high up as I could, slam down, and just do it 3 times. But then if I was already low on fuel or on oxygen in my suit, I would just blast around for a little bit until it ran out and just suffocate. Which neither are very poetic and not quite suited to the feel of the game.
Yeah, but I love this. I think that's like such a. You're right. It isn't part of the feel of the game. Like it feels much more like Edge of Tomorrow, right? To do this stuff. Like I always think about that scene with Emily Blunt where she's like, I'm wounded, I'm tired, I'm like this really fucking hurts, and I just would rather not be feeling this right now. So can I just kill you? Or can we start over? Yeah. Yeah,
and then the supernova is Emily Blunt going up and shooting Tom Cruise when he really doesn't want her to. Yeah. Something I know I feel like I've been speaking very highly of the senses of this game. I think it's really clear where the developers' focus was and wasn't. So the music is the exact same every loop. Every time you enter space for the first time, it's the same Traveler's theme. Every time the supernova comes, it's the same song. Every loop is identical. Like what happens on the planets is identical. And I understand that they put so much focus into things changing over the course of one loop and having like the first 2 minutes be really different from the last 2 minutes on each planet. But I think that after a while, it was just kind of like I started to feel a little like it just became a little repetitive, and that's when I was really just like, on a ship to where I was going within the first minute of every run. Like there was just no time to soak it up because I was just like, the song is pretty, and I've heard it every time I've launched from Timber Hearth. And I don't know if it's that pretty, that I want to hear it every time. The travelers, the different astronauts who all play their own instrument, which I love that, like little feature that this species that you are like also loves music and is constantly broadcasting it to each other. You can you have a signal scope and you can point it at different places, different signals and listen. But it's always the same music coming from each person. So, there is. I don't want to say there wasn't a lot of effort, but there's clearly not a focus in kind of having those change up for you. It was all about each individual loop being a journey rather than your time playing through 30 loops being like a changing journey,
Well, and this is the thing that I started to struggle with is it's not a short game. I think like How Long to Beats is like 16 hours, but I think I'm going to play this for like 30 hours because I really didn't want to look anything up, and I did towards the end. But I just I just did so many things and saw so many things that were exactly the same over and over and over again. I do think if this game was shorter, a lot of those really amazing wow moments there'd be a lot less filler time in between. And I don't think it would have taken away from them that much.
Yeah. And I mean, I said before, I feel really strongly that the writing is just like it's not even simple. It's just like pitiful. I think it's just like, I don't know. The people who made this game it seems like such a development challenge to this defies a lot of game design principles, like the use of the quantum mechanics of the game, everything is a sphere, the different gravities and stuff, and it's just that I'm reading some of this dialogue. Why it doesn't make sense why they would write this down and record this, and then also it's like just it feels. I said early on when I was playing it, I said to Teddy that I was like, "Is this a game for kids?" And I think it's not. But if you just read the dialogue and the codexes, you'd be like, "This is made for like 5-year-olds," and it's
well,
it's not easy to write something good, but like it just doesn't feel like a really serious, deep, layered world from the quality of writing. It's and I wish it was a little more poetic, a little more. The prose was more interesting. It's just like again, it's like so crystal clear what everything is intended to communicate to you.
Yeah, so I think this is the big like clash or problem with the game is, I think so many people say this game's poetic and literary. This game is like, I think in a lot of ways remarkable, like you're saying, with game in terms of game design and the scale, especially with a small team. What they're doing with time, a lot of the like gameplay concepts, like using quantum how you interact with like quantum objects, and then it's basically a Disney movie when it comes to the people. Like, it's funny you mentioned, like, why are they recording these conversations? There's, like, some of the scrolls and stuff are just, like, facts and information. But then there's, like, why is there recordings of, like, these really dumb conversations? But yeah,
this is like the super advanced Forerunner species was talking about this. Like, what? What is going on?
Yeah, they're also... To conceive of aliens in these two ways, one, four-eyed, music-loving astronauts who talk like morons, and everything they say to each other is a joke, right? Everything they say to each other is stupid or like a gag, or they think you're crazy, or I don't know. It's just like goofy. And the rest of the game isn't goofy. Like the space exploration isn't goofy. And then when your concept of like a forerunner alien species is, they kind of look actually pretty cool. They're like goat creatures, but then they just talk to each other like idiots also. And they're like goofy and silly. There's no poetry in their dialogue. There's like a few enlightened moments, but for the most part, it's a game for kids, it feels like. And it feels like there's this huge thesis clash between these two worlds. And we can kind of talk about at some point, maybe like the ending, how that ties into both of those things. But I was like, this is like really bad sci-fi.
There is such a clear clash between what is kind of like a highbrow concept, the whole game, right? And then the way it's kind of characterized is like so basic and just unengaging, right? I feel like pulled out of my immersion in the world whenever I have to talk to someone or whenever I read a lot of these scrolls. And I think that's really well said.
It's so human, right? The concept of all this stuff is so human. And I was thinking about like, there's all these petroglyph type things in the world. Like, not all these petroglyphs. There's a few petroglyphs for like drawings of like what's they're doing. And I was thinking about like a game like Journey, where they just tell you the story through like petroglyphs, and then I don't know, because they're this like weird. It's like these weird creatures that exist in this world, and these creatures just talk to each other, and you have a translator, and you can just read all their conversations like 1,000 years later. It's like, this is what aliens are in your universe. Like, they're just like people, and these other aliens are just like people too. Like, I don't know.
Like, why are we blue four-eyed creatures?
Yeah,
right?
we might as well just be people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. Yeah, and again,
and they're not adult people; they're 12-year-old people.
Yeah, I think the I also like that the people that can't go to space are like dumb. That's why they can't, but like everyone's dumb. Yeah. I don't know. It didn't make sense why I got to be an astronaut, but I was going to say, the translator is another one I just thought it's like, what? it's like I just have to hold right click the whole time I'm over here, and that's kind of just like, why is this in a different language? Why is it even in a different language? I don't know. It's so funny for something that nails so many other aspects of this, or nails so many parts of this aspect of game design. Just really, again, and I don't know if it's just, they're like, who cares about this stuff? And fair, fair enough. I think they did what was most important for the kind of thing they wanted to make. But
well, so you said the game's like not hard to figure anything out, and something I kind of am like of two minds about is like they seem to put a lot of faith in the player. Like they don't hold your hand. Like I guess they can say there's like more to explore here if there's like important facts. But I don't know. I feel like so much of my experience, I felt like if this was a Japanese RPG, like it would be a fucking nightmare. Like the amount of menus and people explaining things to you and like really, really slow text teaching you how to do stuff and like telling you how to do this part of the puzzle. Like think about Kingdom Hearts and like how much every time you like do something new, like how much bullshit pops up and like tells you how to play this section of the game. And this game just like lets you die or fuck it up or figure it out. And I think so many modern games are afraid to do that, like really just believe in you as a capable agent in their space. And the story, the dialogue, none of that is like that. It is like they don't treat you like an adult. They don't respect you. There isn't poetry that you can interpret for yourself. It literally is basically a walkthrough for the game that's just talked at you by aliens.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I mean when I say it's not hard to figure out, it's most of these planets have 5 points of interest on them, right? I think the Sunless City is like, and I want to say Brittle Hollow are, might be the most difficult to navigate, but for the most part, it's just like so easy to, it's like, well, I went here, I'll just fly around the outside of this until I see the next structure or the next spot. And it's not that like, it's not that if I have an end goal in sight, I can just go achieve it instantly. It's like, I can follow these pieces. It's pretty simple for me. Once I get one piece, I'm going to find the rest of these pieces pretty simply. And I know one thing that was by intention in the game design was that they didn't want the player to be searching every nook and cranny. And I think that's exactly what they said, to find the relevant thing or to feel like they missed something, which I've never really enjoyed that in games where I always hated like the collectibles in Uncharted and The Last of Us, where they just make you look in weird places and find something that doesn't mean anything.
It's the worst.
Yeah, and you get an achievement. So I was glad that, it was a little bit of a breath of fresh air to just not have to even think about that and be like, I'm getting the important stuff. And if there's ghost matter or there's ghost matter crystals, or there's like a series of cactuses in a weird position, like it probably wants me to go there and explore. But otherwise, it's like, if this is blocked off, it's probably for a reason. Like there's probably nothing there. So, I think I just think it's easy to progress, but not, they don't kind of just hand you the path to the ending on a silver platter, But I think the most buried thing is Bramble Hall, is the end game, which is Dark Bramble, and the I don't even know what to call it, but like the vessel warp core segment is like the most. You kind of have to be paying attention and know that you've found a warp core before, like where they are made and where they ended up. And you have to know the pattern that you have to enter to activate it. And so, like to me, that felt like the most difficult thing, where I had to like engage with the lore or the things I'd been reading the most. And so much of the rest of the game was just like, you have to go to this place, and then you go to the Sunless City and there's a sign that says Southern Observatory 500 meters. And you're like, okay, I'm going this way.
Yeah, there are a couple things. Like one, I eventually just looked up what I needed to do in the end, because I just was like, I've done everything. There's there was like a few question marks. I was like, am I going to go back through everything? Is that really going to tell me what to do? And I feel like it wouldn't have. So I don't know. Like I eventually like had to look up like I kind of knew it was involving the warp core, but I wasn't exactly sure what I needed to do with it. Did you go to the place with the factory where they make the warp cores?
The Black Hole Forge?
Is it the Black Hole
Sunless City, you mean?
Is Black Hole Forge where they make the warp core?
I think so.
Because you pull the... Oh, okay, yeah.
But that's not where you... In fact, actually, I was like, oh, that's where I get it, I bet. Maybe I was just wrong from the get-go, but that's where I was like, okay, I got to go here and get it. And then when it wasn't there, I was like, well, I don't know anything. But I think I was right to think that. I'm pretty sure that there's codex that says that that's where they assemble the warp cores. Then you get it from Ash Twin, right? So...
The one thing I was going to say I hate about this is that seems like doesn't fit with the rest of the game is that you have to find the space probe coordinates to ride this vessel to the end of the game. Like everything else in the game, if you know how to play it and do it, you can just do it. But if you find the warp core and bring it to the spaceship, you can't get out unless you like know this in-game fact, which is like finding the warp coordinates. And I don't know, it felt sort of wrong and like cheap. Like the game was like doing something else than the rest of the time. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. And that sticks out so much. In any other game, this is like a totally normal thing to just have this hard wall. But in this game, it definitely really stands out. Because, you know, for example, we're talking about how you can kind of waltz your way into a bunch of these different areas and you can learn something that doesn't come into play until very late in your playthrough. But for example, like I got to the core of Dark Bramble without knowing anything. Like I got there before knowing I could, you know, divert the anglerfish or how to get around them. I just like one was about to eat me and I backed all the way up against the wall of the area and it couldn't close its mouth. And I slowly slid down and then kind of wiggled against another long bramble, and it just was on the other side sliding down following me and couldn't bite me until I got into the vessel section of the planet. And then I was there, and then I was like, oh my god, I figured this out. And then I'm like, oh, here's this warp core. It's destroyed. I put it in. I was like, maybe that's all I have to do. And then I was like, oh, I have to like enter a pattern. I'm playing the witness now. I was like, okay, but I just have to trace what I see here. And I just did that on all three. And I spent a bunch of time there like putzing about and nothing was working. And it was strange to be like, everything else in this game I've just wandered into and it's been fine. And then this is like, oh, no, you can't wander here. You have to do it. I think because I knew so little getting to that area, it was okay. And and maybe because that happened earlier for me, I was able to be like,
I don't know enough yet.
And like, this is my end game, right? And I guess actually no, because it stands out as like, this is the end game, right? This is what all the knowledge I'm collecting will build to. So it's like, I need to go to Giant's Deep because I need to learn how they did this. And to get to Giant's Deep, I need to learn how I can get beneath the current, and I know where to go to do that. And all that stuff. But so I agree with you that it was a little cheap, and I think takes away from, is supposed to be the climax of the game, I imagine.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm over it. I'm over it. Did you find yourself like bored by the loop at all, or like stressed by the loop? I often found like I guess one issue I face with this game overall is that I feel like the game wants you to experiment and try things, and early on I was, and then I'd be like 10 minutes into the loop and be like, I really don't want to have to get back to this point in time in the loop or fly here again like in Dark Bramble. And so like, I'm just not going to go there anymore. Or I'm not going to do this thing, or it was just like, it was stressful because like to get back to this spot, like a game over here would be like a big deal. So I just like wouldn't do creative fun stuff some of the time. Like,
yeah, I experienced it a little bit. I experienced it especially when I was doing my like full exploration of the Hourglass Twins, because there's a bunch of stuff that you can only do at the beginning or late in the run. And I mean, they do have the mechanic, which I didn't really understand until later, of sleeping to advance to a certain part of the loop. But I that's probably the most frustrated I was with the game, was just doing those and being like, I have to wait until it gets low enough, and then I have to fly around this whole planet and try to find what I'm looking for on the Ash Twin in particular. And I'm just like, this is so annoying. And I have 3 minutes to get through this. And then, you know, by the time when I finally found it, I found the Sun Station portal or whatever. It's like, well, now the Sun Station is gone. It's been devoured by the sun, so I can't go there. And so, you know, I've spent 10 loops trying to get through this, and now I've got it, and I still have to do an 11th. So, yeah, I think I did hate just kind of waiting around. Or I don't know, hate's a strong word, but just I found myself I found my flow broken up. The pacing felt a little all over the place when I had gotten so quick at doing things, and then I just had to wait. And there's literally nothing to do. If you're waiting for the sand to build up and you're there, there's nothing. You've explored everything on that planet. You are twiddling your thumbs. There's nothing in the ship that's like fun or interesting. It's just you get on your ship and there's the codex, there's your suit, and there's the cabin. And you can launch your probe a bunch of times and take random photos, but it's just... I made
coffee. I made coffee last time I was on Ash Twin.
Yeah. I've got wireless headphones, so I put this on. I go get water, go to the bathroom, listen, wait some amount of time. I was starting timers on my watch, and so it's it's interesting. But in that respect, this was Alon asked a great question. I guess he gave us a great prompt, which I obviously we haven't talked that much about it, but the comparison to Subnautica and the pillars of game design that they talk about and the third one, respect the player and their time. Don't manipulate them through achievements, dopamine, extrinsic rewards. Give them an amazing, rewarding experience that takes effort. And I guess if you know that you can sleep and advance time, then maybe they respect the player and their time. But because I didn't use that for a while, I did feel like I was just like, I can totally check out and just wait for this to happen, and there's like nothing to do. So I feel like it. Yeah, go ahead.
I think one of the problems is like, even if you know about that mechanic, I guess if you can like instantly get to a place, it's fine. But like, again, like I still didn't want to, because I felt like my time was going to be wasted. I didn't do certain things. And I feel this way about sometimes like hard games or roguelikes or something where I won't take... It's actually like a big issue for me in general and criticism I have is that like people don't try alternate builds or like different things because they're afraid of losing. Whereas if you just had a checkpoint, you'd be like, no problem. So I think we should run through the pillars. I'm just going to start with 3 here. I think they simultaneously respect the player and don't. They respect your ability to just like navigate and go from spot, like to just get through the mystery. I think the mystery of each thread. I can't believe how many times I've said the many threads of this game. And it is definitely not manipulated through achievements and like collectibles and things like that. So I appreciate that. And I do think it's a great experience. I don't know if amazing is the way to describe it. I don't feel like it requires a ton of effort, but there is some thinking and movement involved. And so it feels player driven enough. I just think they didn't, I don't think they were making it simple for people. I think they just didn't seem to really care and the writing and the lore just does not respect the player. It's just not I think the ending and everything is like deep
and has many interpretations and is scientifically layered, but nothing else in the game. Everything else in the game is like so weird.
They didn't
like,
earn,
about,
in my opinion, they did not earn that ending.
Yeah, because just because I think this is where you're going with it, like the multiverse aspect of the ending and the is big and grand, but the quantum like materials that are in the game are almost like Easter eggs in like from the scientific perspective. It's just like you look away, you look back, the rock is gone, the rock is back, rock is gone, and then you get a little bit of play with it where you get to like ride the rock, which I did think was really cool, but it's such a small part of the game, and then it turns out it's like everything in the game is about this thing that you did on the rock. And so, anyways, that's why it's not earned in that sense.
Yeah, I feel this way about 2001, which is 2001 would be like my favorite movie of all time if not for the ending, which is this like it's this basically sci-fi beautiful movie that I love, and then that's like based in material reality with normal things and concerns, and then in the end it's like this psychotic, like postmodern, like abstract sequence of like him being born and becoming an old man and 2001 spoilers, and it doesn't make any sense. And in this one,
or we just watch Men, right? Similar thing. It just like spirals into nonsense.
At least that game, I do I mean, that movie is like, it's sort of, the whole thing is weird and strange and nothing really quite makes sense. And this, like, it is everything is grounded in the material, and then it just goes from like 1, 2, 3 to 10, like until like 11. It's like everything's crazy. The universe is like gonna be destroyed. We're gonna create a new universe by all of us playing music together. The other thing that's strange is like at the end of the game, all these characters come together, all the other astronauts who like play their own instruments, and they all make a song together. But you don't know them. They're not important to you. Like, there's no special connection with them. You don't have many conversations with them. It just wasn't, it didn't make any sense. Like, I don't care about these people. This isn't special to me. This isn't like my family getting together. These are people I've never met before I started playing the game. Not before I went into space. I went to space once, saw them, and then left them on their planet. Like, the character in the game doesn't care about them. It just, I don't know. I thought it was very strange. It like suddenly wants to be very poetic narratively and like what's happening to the worlds. And I was just like, I don't know. I didn't get it.
Yeah, I might edit what I'm about to ask Alon to edit what I'm about to say out, but this will be top Patreon tier only. Just like, there is a certain kind of person who like visits these characters, I think, and like sees and just like fills in what's not written so significantly in their own head and in their imagination about like, this is like this lone word traveler who's like decided this is where they want to remain. And like, this is such a beautiful moment that I'm having with them at their campfire. Like, this is the campfire that's on every planet that they're on and where you wake up, and like, this is all like connected. And you then like, and they've got their instrument. He's got his instrument. And then they're all, oh my God, it's everyone in the music. It's a symphony, and it's an orchestra, and the Nomai is here, and the Nomai guy's here, and he's the missing piece. And like, and I think it's, maybe, and again, this is why I was like, is this for kids? Cause like, if this is one of your first stories, or, a formative story, I think it can reach that point. Like, I think about what was impactful to me in games and movies and TV shows when I was a kid, and it's like so ridiculous now, but, yeah, as an adult who's encountered a lot of media, it's just like, I don't care. It's just what I'm, my only interest in, and what I think is like layered and deep about the ending is the science of it, not the, not the like characters, like, it doesn't even make sense why everyone's there,
Right.
But so I think so then to go to the first pillar, never tell the player what to do. Let them decide. If there's something we want them to do, breadcrumb it. Totally.
Yeah.
Right. It's just literally you can do anything you want.
All in one.
Yeah. I think there's just, in terms of like the physical things you can do, there's not a ton to mess around with. I think I complained about this to Teddy early on, and I felt a little bit better about it, but like there's not a lot of mechanics for you to take advantage of. You've got your scout, which can take pictures. Like you can attach it to things and take pictures far away. You've got your signal scope where you can listen to signals and find things and distract anglerfish. And there's your ship and jetpack. And like those are the things you can do. There's not even, you can't even crouch, right? There's just like, I mean, I guess if you hold spacebar while you're not in your suit, you can crouch. So yeah, and they definitely breadcrumb things, right? It's, I mean, I'd say they leave slices of bread for you to follow. And, I think like a game like this can easily get out of hand. So I found myself not frustrated, not upset in this game, which I really appreciated, that it was like really clear what making progress is very clear. And I appreciated it playing it. I don't know if you have anything to add to that pillar. It seems pretty self-explanatory.
You got it.
And then number 2, the world doesn't care about the player. The player is a foreigner in an unknowable, majestic alien world. This led to non-violence to creatures. Well, yes, that's a Subnautica specific thing, but the world doesn't care about the player. I heard them also in the no clip talk about this, but knew it from my experience. Like the loop, everything that happens in the loop, you cannot do anything to affect what's happening. Like you can't stop there's not like something where you figure out how to stop the sand from dropping onto Ember Twin, and then you can do whatever you want. Or you can stop the core on Brittle Hollow from sucking things in, or you can turn off the lava planet. I don't know. And you can't fight the anglerfish or anything. So you are totally victim to what's happening in the game. So it's pretty remarkable. It lined directly up on those two.
Yeah, and I think I think they do a better job than Subnautica with third pillar of respect the player in their time.
Oh yeah, 110%.
Yeah, so it's I would just it's just like is a more impressive accomplishment in that regard.
I think and while we're talking about Subnautica, I mean, I think anyone who plays this game, you'll see right away why we've talked about it being like Subnautica, but especially like the lone explorer kind of thing. But I described the game really early on as Spore meets Prey meets Subnautica. Spore being the way like space looks. The visual design of the game is like straight out of Spore. It's crazy. Like I've made Spore species that look exactly like these guys. Did you get how like cartoony it is? The graphics is exactly like it.
Did you see the piece of lore where the Nomi encounter the Hearthians?
I don't know. I don't remember.
They're like talking about this like species of like amphibians they've seen. They're like fish they saw. And there's like a little painting of like these Nomi like above a pond. And there's like these like prehistoric Hearthians, not even prehistoric, like Cambrian,
right?
Like they look like little like
Jurassic
crabs. Yeah, like horseshoe crabs crawling around.
Yeah.
It's so good.
That's an awesome touch.
And so it's like very Spore.
right. And then also like the way, I don't know, you're looking at this map, like is exactly like Spore. And maybe that's just what space maps look like. It's that's just the way to do it. But it's I couldn't help but feel like I was playing a Spore sequel or like a Spore spinoff. And then I'm trying to get back to these questions I was looking at, and then Prey. I think really when I bring up Prey, I'm really talking about just like the space navigation, like the flying in your jetpack feels very similar. And maybe any game where you're in space kind of has that feeling. Just the controlling the thrusters and being able to flip over, and it doesn't really matter. It's all about momentum, not about orientation. And also kind of like the dead of space, being in the dead of space. Like immediately felt like I was flying around the outside of I can't remember the name of the base in Talos Prime or Talos Station or whatever it is. Talos 1. Yeah.
It's funny you bring up Prey because did you play the DLC at all?
For Prey?
Yeah.
No, I did not.
Oh man, we should do a bonus episode or something. The Prey DLC it's Moon Crash. It's like what's taking place on the moon of next to, because Talos 1 I think is orbiting the moon. But it's a roguelike similar. There's a time loop basically. So you play the game through 5. You have to beat the game with 5 separate characters, and it's like a whole space base. It's a base race. You have to get out with each character in like one continuous run, and when you go through, you can basically you can influence the space station in different ways, leave items behind for different characters. Oh. And it's very similar actually to Outer Wilds. It's because it's like sort of a time loop roguelike. And I just think what's cool about it is, you're basically manipulating the run for the other characters based on like their different skills. Some of them are good hackers, some are good fighters. So you can be like, okay, this room's like full of enemies, so I'm going to avoid it and go this way. And actually, what I love about the Moon Crash DLC is those questions are constantly asked of you, and it's random. So every time you're playing, you're trying to decide like what's the best way to execute this sequence of runs. Whereas in this, it's sort of like I just get to the place, solve the puzzle, and move on once I know how to do it. So I think it's more like Prey than at first glance, and we should give that a look.
Yeah, real Prey fans who played the DLC really get it. And then so the Subnautica comparison, I think we've delved into it a little bit, but just being alone in the world, having like an alien forerunner species that you're learning more about, and the I guess Subnautica is, all about you being on a water planet, and you get that a little bit, but just like going into these worlds that are just totally different and have something completely unique to them. You don't, almost none of them feel like Earth, other than Timber Hearth, your home planet. Oh, sorry, excuse me. So, there's no building or upgrading, or you don't get expanded storage for your ship or depth module level 3 or anything like that. So, it doesn't. There's some very key differences. Obviously, no survival mechanics, but it does feel like such an amazing combination of those three. And I'm sure there are other games that people would think of. I don't really know any other space exploration games. I haven't really played. I don't know if what's that like hyper accurate science, like in terms of the science one that people play. It's almost like a space simulation game. My friend Andrew loves it. No, is that Eve? Is that what you're gonna say?
Yeah.
No, it's like a I don't know. It's just a game where you have to be really precise in your calculations and when you launch and what direction you launch.
Star Citizen?
No, it's something. It's got a weird name. It's something like kind of goofy, I feel like. I'd search like hyper realistic space launch game.
Elite Dangerous?
Nope.
No Man's Sky?
Yeah. No.
Okay, that's all I got. Oh, Kerbal Space Program.
Yes, Kerbal Space Program. That is it. Oh, you were saying that as a joke, really?
Yeah.
No, it's literally, that's it, 100%.
It is hyper realistic now that I think about it.
Yeah, but it's so funny.
I was talking to Fiona, and she was saying her sister's fiance plays just video games all the time. I was like, oh, what does he play? And she's like, he just plays this game called Kerbals. He loved it, and I was like, what? Kerbals? She's like, yeah, he plays this game called Kerbals. He's obsessed with space. He watches every spaceship launch. He he gets everybody together. He makes us all watch it, and then he plays Kerbals. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. Kerbal Space.
Oh my god, Kerbals is such a different game than Kerbal Space Program.
Kerbals.
Yeah, you got to be careful when you name your game. If the first word of your game can just become the name and someone can put an S on it, and it turns into that, I think you need a new name. You have such a great way of telling these stories about like your conversations, like these incredulous conversations with people where they're just like something about the way you deliver. You like stand there and the person's like, yeah, he makes us watch all this stuff and like it's just so funny. Notice it whenever you're talking about like some psychotic thing that's going on. But let's see that Alon was our number one fan for this episode with asking questions. I mean that's on us because it took us so long to get it move on from Hades. But let's see. Alon said Annapurna seems like an incredible publisher based on the games I've heard of or played. Flower, Donut Country, blah blah blah. Not really a question. Seems like a super cool publisher. Wonder if there's any through line in the games they decide to publish. Seems indie experimental. I'm not a paid subscriber, so I understand if you skip my questions. Yeah. Sorry, that's what I meant. There are tons of questions, but none of these people are subscribers, so we can't read them. Yeah,
I feel like I kind of answered this in the beginning, but basically, no, there isn't a through line. I think
they just look for cool projects.
Yeah,
cool indie projects. And that's why they're a cool publisher. They look for cool stuff. They do. It's the Kanye West line. My life is dope because I do dope shit. Annapurna's cool because they fund cool projects. I think just something I feel like we've touched on a little bit that I wanted to also flag. Just the no clip documentary is really good for this game. I think you can skip the last third of it. Basically nothing happens at the end of it. I was kind of confused, but I mean, no clip's amazing, so I shouldn't complain. But like the development of this game was like such a struggle, such a puzzle to put together to figure out how to get it to work, and they just like one of the things that they talk about is the challenge of, normally if you have a game like this, it's this big, you can just put everything in the background into like really low, really optimize it, make it like low res and not have nothing happen. And, but then in this game, because you can teleport to other places, they still have to figure out how to optimize it because you can't have everything happening at once, but also they have to make it so some things are still happening, right? If you leave your ship on Brittle Hollow and it's breaking apart and you leave, they design the game in such a way that the platform that your ship is on can still get sucked into the black hole, even if you're on another planet.
You have a scout. Your scout can be sent somewhere as well,
right? Your scout takes photos all over the solar system. So it's a,
really is a technological achievement for sure.
Yeah, and I think they had this comp sci guy he was an aerospace engineer, and then he had a minor in computer science, and he did all this like crazy math to get certain objects like the black hole to operate realistically and stuff. So I don't know. There's just like some really cool stuff, and this is just like it's a very impressive development team that not only had a really creative idea and did it, which I think a lot of the games we've talked about are kind of simple ones. I want to say like Subnautica is kind of like that, where it is kind of straightforward. Like this game is just full of contradictions and trying to make compromises on different aspects of the actual design of the game. But just like I don't know, it's amazing that this was a student project that really turned into a full-fledged game really late in the process for them. So it's just, I don't know, it's such a great indie story, and I think uniquely different from others in how technical it was.
Right, technical in a weird way, right?
In a mathy way, right?
Yeah. Well, and we were just talking about I was thinking about Portal in reference to this as well, right? Like this was a student project that became a full-fledged game, but really what was impressive about Portal is like the concept. And it's like, this was so ambitious. Portal isn't ambitious, right? They just like really wanted to do something, in my mind, like that hasn't been done before. That is incredible. That like gives you this amazing feeling of being in space and exploring this changing universe for 22 minutes. And I didn't love this game, especially because of the story, but it is, yeah, I just think they tried to do something awesome. And like people fucking love this game. It's like everybody's game of the year. And you know, right on, like that's so sick for this company to make their first game that awesome. And I just, like I said before, like they trust the player. I just want more games to be like this, that are mature in the game sense, even if not in the story sense.
Yeah, totally. Should
we do it?
What are you saying?
I was going to say, do you want to do? Yeah, no. If you have something.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Sorry, I'm just gonna pause for a sec, trying to remember what I was gonna say.
What the fuck are the projection stones? That's my last item here. What do they do?
You actually just reminded me what I wanted to say. That's so funny. I'm so glad you said that. I'm just writing it down.
Yeah, good.
What do you mean? What are they?
What are they like? You put them in the pedestal, and then they show you some other place. What other place? Wow. What?
Well, I think the idea for some of them is like, this is where you should go to get the answer to to get the next clue in this, or like the next answer. Or sometimes it seemed like it was a story perspective. It was like, this is where this happened. Like they built this in this location. But, yeah, like there was discussions about the vessel and I think there's a projection zone that takes you to Giant's Deep, and you realize that's where you have to go to get the coordinates.
Oh, okay.
And there's like lots of stuff like that. But sometimes, especially early on, I was like, what the fuck is going on?
I'm just like in this weird dark room that's like rippling.
Yeah, and I can't go anywhere.
Do I need to do something?
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, they were fucking cool. That's for sure.
Some of the time. All right, give me what you got. What's your question?
No, I was just going to do a quick talk on science. This is not every day that we can justify talking about the double slit experiment. Because
that'll be in show notes.
So, yeah. This is Patreon only content here. Well, first of all, I feel like, I guess I did mention it a couple times, but the quantum objects are cool in this game. Like the quantum moon is a fun, like immersive thing, and the space, like the quantum rock that people disappeared on and reappeared on, and that you can ride by going into the dark and stuff is I think was a great touch to the game. And I was wondering if you could explain the how does that quantum moon rock work?
In real life?
Yeah, what's do you understand the science behind it?
I don't understand the science behind it, no. Basically the way like a lot of quantum theory is two things are happening at once, and they're both happening at once until they're interact with something else, and then the possibilities of both happening collapse into a single thing. So the classic one is if you shine light through two slits, it goes through both of them. I fucking forget it. But basically, light is both a wave and a particle, proven by the double slit experiment. However, if you try and measure it as a wave, it only appears as a wave, and if you try and measure it as a particle, it only appears as a particle.
Right. Well, I think the double slit experiment, the thing is that if you like shine one photon through two, it'll go through two slits.
Yes, thank you.
And then where that is the behavior of a wave, even though you know it's a particle. But if you try to measure at any one point, it'll only be going through one slit. But then this was laid out very clearly in Timeline, the wonderful Michael Crichton book that I wish I could read again for the first time. Where if you have 5 slits, the light will only travel through 3 of them and will not travel through 2 of them. And I don't know if this is the leading like a scientific theory of today, because this book came out a while ago, but it's because of interference from other universes where the photons are like ricocheting off each other and stopping each other from going through the slits.
Amazing.
And I asked Molly, my wife, who's the most scientific of the bunch here, who's taken physics classes. I never took a quantum theory class or anything like that, but many Ivy League physics classes. And I was like, is that what people think? And she's like, I think so. I was like, is like multiple universes the explanation for this? And she's like, I think that's what people say. I was like,
yeah,
what?
I think a lot of people are. I think that's the prevailing theory now. All right, so the quantum objects exist in every single place that they can exist all the time until you look at a certain spot, and then they're there, and they only exist there.
Well, this seemed a little inconsistent in the game because you could measure. There was like an object that told you where the quantum moon was.
Yes,
but I guess it's being measured, so I guess it's there.
But I think as soon as it's measured, then it shouldn't. That should be where it exists, right? Yeah, and this is something that was actually annoying for me. Is like if you turn that dial that tells you where the quantum moon is, it doesn't always stay there. It's like, now that I know the quantum moon is there, it should just stay. And like, then I would like fly to it and try and land on it, and I would just go through it, and I would be like, I don't understand. Like, I thought I figured this out. I know.
I think it's because you didn't stare at it the whole time once you found where it was.
Well, the thing's recording where it is. So as soon as it knows the location, then it should just take me there. Like it should never leave.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to get in some double slit talk because, you know, it's not every day we get to force people to listen to it. I did just listen. I was listening to a podcast. That's not. I mean, it's two social scientists who talking, and they were talking about how
scientists,
right? Yeah, an anthropologist and a a psychologist and a philosopher. Okay. And it's the Very Bad Wizards.
I was
going to
say, yeah.
And one of them, and Tamler's like talking, and he just goes, they're talking about multi-universes for a second because they're talking about how everything is in metaphors. This is going to get edited out, so I'm just gonna go with it. But like, they're talking about this paper about how everything we perceive and talk, like the way we think and talk is just entirely in metaphor. And somehow they get onto the subject of like talking about multiple universes after talking about Einstein and how like the systems of thought that we're stuck in, and how Einstein like broke out of his system of thought to come up with relativity, and then but could not break out of his system of thought to appreciate or even acknowledge quantum theory. He's like, I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me, and I don't think it's right. But like, it is, and how like even if you can get out, you can still be stuck. And I think they just start riffing, and and Tamler's just like, really? Like, our best theory is that there's multiple universes. Like, there's just an infinite number of universes, and this is just like things are just happening everywhere. Like, this seems so ridiculous that this is like, all right, this is such a cop out. It's like, anyways. So, shall we do some ratings? Is that what you're thinking?
That's what I'm thinking.
Great. Awesome. So let's start with recommend. What do you think?
Starting with recommend? Isn't that the last one?
Oh, on the ratings page in our master spreadsheet, recommend is the first one. I guess in the table, it's the last one, right?
Oh, no, let's do it. Let's mix it up. Okay, would I recommend this? I'd say 2. I think even if you don't love games like this, even if you don't love this game, I think it's worth playing and checking out. I think there's some really cool stuff. You might bounce off of it, but it's worth the risk of like wasting a couple hours. I think based on everyone I've talked to about this game, they fucking love it. So maybe it literally could be a 3. Like I think I like this less than every single person I've ever met. So I'm gonna go with 2 just to be safe. I'd recommend it to anyone who plays video games.
Yeah, I think. I mean, you think about like we're about to play Bloodborne for our next game club. Spoiler alert! And I played Bloodborne. I'm not going to give my rate something that I'm not going to give my recommend rating, but something that I will be thinking about is like if I was going to give it to someone, it would be 5 shitty hours where they're just banging their head against the wall and nothing happens and nothing clicks. And like, you just won't have that experience playing this game. It may not be for you, but you will not just be filled with frustration and like feeling like you don't know how to play. You know, you'll be able to get into it. You'll hear some fun music and go through space. So I think it's such a safe recommendation. And I think I'm just going to just going to lean in here and give it a 3, just because you can just, it's really easy to walk away from.
Well, that's fucking awesome. So if someone's like, I've never played a video game before, or I'm skeptical of video games, would this be like near the top of your list? That you
I think so.
If you're skeptical of video games and you want to find out if they're capital A art,
I think if their favorite book is Fahrenheit 451, I probably wouldn't. Or if if they talk about Tolstoy and Dostoevsky or something.
Yeah,
but
Animal Farm is my favorite book.
If Animal Farm's your favorite book, then
that's
this is
true.
I'm
You're
shoving this in their face.
Oh my god, you're
totally.
right.
But if Crime and Punishment is their favorite book, then I would probably give this a 1.
Motion sickness. Madeline can't even watch me play. Also, Kevin loves this game, and Ani was like, I couldn't watch him play because it was so nauseating to watch. The amount of like inversions and spinning and weird things. The controls are a little jittery, so it's. Hold on, a New York break.
We don't live in New York. Who knows where we live?
Don't DDoS us. Yeah, we live in San Diego.
Dude, can we talk about how many fucking plants are in your background right now? It's insane.
I know.
It looks like a Zoom background.
Yeah, I know. I'm hoping
like the reptile
fake.
Room in Lemony in a series of unfortunate events.
Yeah, I am a reptile. Anyone, if anyone wants a plant and you've watched this far, hit me up. I'll give you one. I have too many. Okay. Recommend. Done.
Yeah, I would also say just with these games, I do think it's kind of like driving. If you're playing, it's not as bad as watching. Watching a game like this is tough.
True. Okay.
But yeah, like watching this game is like riding in the back, reading.
I see. Yeah,
right. Whereas driving, you shouldn't get as sick. I've got fun. That's next in my order. This is tough. I've got to look at what I shouldn't look. No, you're right.
The rating system is a disaster.
It is, yeah. I want to look at what I gave other games because I don't want to put it above or below. I think I'm going to give it a... I wish there was like an unfun rating where I could give it a 0, like it's not unfun at all. I think it's just a 1 for me, though.
0 is not
Like 0 for fun makes it seem like it's not fun. But like 0 for unfun means it's not unfun.
I see what you're saying.
So I think I've got to give it a 1 because this game is fun, but it's not like this magic. You don't get into this like flow state flying through space where you like totally synchronize with the game. So I think it's a 1.
Yeah, I think it's a 0 for me for fun.
Awesome.
Sorry, Outer Wilds. It's just not fun. It's cool.
Yeah, I think we also should reiterate probably every episode the ratings, just like a 1. It seems like 1 out of 3 is really bad, but it's Michelin star style, so 1 is great, is good, is really good.
If
so
you got a
not
Michelin
getting
star,
1.
fuck yeah, you're awesome.
Yeah, I've never been to a 2-star Michelin restaurant.
Yeah, you'd have to go out of your way, dude. It's really you have to use some
I live in New York City, and I've never been to a 2-star. I mean, it's also extremely expensive, I guess. But
no, we don't live in New York City.
Live in New York City. Who knows where Teddy lives? He clearly look at my background and look at his. Yeah. So, I don't read too much into him giving it a 0 if you're a fan of this game.
I eat at mostly non-Michelin star restaurants.
I'd say I eat about 50% non-Michelin star restaurants. Okay, and senses. I'm really interested to hear what you would give this. I'm happy to go first if you want me to.
Yeah, I'm going to give this a 1. 2. 1. Yeah, I think it's a 1. I think the opening song is Chasing Cars by Snow Patrol,
which brings it up to 3.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna give it a 2. The universe is fucking amazing. I love it. It's beautiful. I loved exploring it. There are some amazing moments sitting on the sun station. The ending song, the supernova. Yeah, it's got it. I think it's a 2 for me. Done. Signed. What do you think?
I think a 2. I think if the story was better, and if the music was different, if there was kind of like a score that was all informed by the same themes, then I'd probably give it a 3.
What is it? Aesthetics? Is that what we're?
Yeah, kind of.
But the story doesn't have anything to do with that.
I think it's like the well, census to me means I've got to listen to the first episode where we started doing ratings, but like a census to me means the
heart.
Yeah, and just kind of like what it feels like to be in the world of the game, like how satisfying and immersive and like well crafted is it?
Okay.
And to me, the story takes away from that, at least the way it's told. So, I give it. I give it a solid 2 because, like you said, it's just the planets are so creative and cool to look at and jump into, and like I don't know if I would do this. I'd probably just listen to Infinity Shred song, but just blasting off a Timber Hearth and just floating through space for a minute with the music playing is like a nice, relaxing experience. So, yeah, I've got 312, which that is a high score for
good
a game that just came out of nowhere for me, so.
Fine and Blind, love it. Okay, that's it. That's a wrap.
I think, nothing else you wanted to flag, I assume. So, thank you to anyone who made it this far in our episode. We've got a bunch of stuff coming your way soon. We've got our live event that we mentioned in the beginning, that we did with a recording of our live event with Josh Sawyer and Alchemy Music, talking about Pentiment, the new Obsidian Entertainment release. And then after that, we have, our next Gameclub is Bloodborne. I guess, will we announce it today, the day of recording? I guess Alon did a soft launch of it on social media, but we'll get the new channel going. I'm sure a ton of you have played it, and we're excited, but expect more from us going forward. And
thanks for everyone for all the support. We appreciate it. Thanks for
our patrons are going strong. Thank you for that. We got our Spotify year in review. Beautiful creation. All of you across the 16 countries and probably 3 continents, if I had to guess. Europe, North America, and Australia, as my guess.
And Asia. We got Asia, too.
Yeah, you think so?
We got the Philippines. Yeah.
Oh, you're so right. Yeah, that's our fifth highest one. For a time, we were the 10th biggest gaming podcast in Ireland. I don't know where we're at on that one these days, but I would like to review some of those stats. Yeah. And go, I was going to say go Morocco, but that game has since passed and Morocco lost, which is sad. But, Argentina, France, who would have thought? Go Messi.
We'll see. Yeah. This will probably be over. It'll be over by the time this is out.
This will definitely be cut by the time this is out. So, and this will have happened by the time this is out. So, I don't know, Teddy, always a pleasure. Play Outer Wilds. We love to see an indie game come to just fruition like this. It's such an amazing thing.
Yes. All right.
Happy gaming.